Let the rhythm inspire you at the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. Pure Jazz. Tuesday, May 5th, Grammy-winning Esperanza Spalding. Then on Thursday, May 7th, Branford Marcellus Quartet. May 6th, Kingdom Night, Gospel Powerhouse Ty Tribbett. Ada AE. Then feel the rhythm at Caribbean Fusion. Friday, May 8th, featuring the original Wailers with Al Anderson. Skip Marley, Cass the Band. Imran Nerdy, Dexter Daps. World Beats. Saturday, May 9th, Afrobeat sensation Thames. Princess Lover, X-Man, Lou City, October 4, and Ella May. The ultimate celebration, Sunday, May 10th, featuring the legendary Billy Ocean. Beverly Knight, Mervyn Wilkinson, R&B icons Brandy and Monica. Online tickets available at stluciajazzandartsfestival.com.
All the wonders in the world, St. Lucia's only meant for me. So much history to be told and so much more for eyes to see. The colors feel the love, I can tell you all the way. Proud of it, proud of it, proud of it, proud of it. It don't matter where I voyage, it don't matter where I roam. Majestic people stand.
Get pain relief fast with Frances Rub.
When the days get tough, rub it. Having back pains, rub it. The dog not well, rub it. COVID on you, rub it. If you have 4AD, rub it. For proper circulation, rub it. Stroke have you on a side, rub it. For all problems in life, rub it with Frances Rub. Or call 713-4162 or 489-3421. Nothing beats a good old Frances Rub. Located in the Vendors Arcade, booth 27B.
And now in VA4 on Girodi Street next to the post office.
Hello, good evening, everybody. We are live on HushTalk on Watch Radio NYC. Wherever you're watching us from this evening, whatever you're doing, come in and let's talk. Let's talk real. Tonight, we're talking about love. We're talking about self-love. We're talking about loving without losing yourself. So tonight, this is HushTalk, where the noise fades and the truth finally gets a voice. Tonight, we're stepping into something tender, something real, something many of us have felt, but few of us truly understand. Love, relationships, and healing. Because sometimes the same place we go to feel safe becomes the place we slowly lose ourselves. And tonight, as we ask the question, can you love someone and still remain whole?
That's a really, really, really heavy question. I cannot wait to hear what the audience have to say tonight about that question. Can you love someone and truly remain what you said, Bills?
Can you love someone and still remain whole?
Can you love someone and still remain whole?
Wow. That's deep. I mean, sometimes as women, even with our children.
Hold up. I know tonight we're excited to talk about this topic because I have so much to say I have so much to feel, and I know the audience have a lot to see. But T, I
Yes.
think you're forgetting something. Who
What?
is sponsoring this talk tonight?
Okay. All right.
We
I was sure.
we
I
can
was
never
sure
forget about who is
we have a
sponsoring our
special,
talk, because
our
without the
special
sponsors,
sponsor.
we're
Okay.
not there. So please,
All right.
give us
All right.
a few about our
Our
sponsors.
special sponsors. So our show this evening, of course, is sponsored by the St. Lucia. Which who is sponsoring it?
St. Lucia Jazz.
St. Lucia Jazz. That's what it's called. No, we are having St. Lucia Jazz. Yes, we are having St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. And this is happening from April 30th. We're having the opening at the Mindofili Park, April 30th. And it ends with the ultimate celebration at the iconic Pigeon Island landmark. Okay, so it's an event to look forward to. St. Lucia Jazz and Arts 2026. Everyone out there in the diaspora, come home and be part of this celebration. Okay, and it is St. Lucia Tourism Authority. They are our sponsors this evening.
Okay, good. So, I think we have a few people on our show already tonight. There are some people. You know what I realized before we go any further? I realized that we have been responding a lot to our viewers on Facebook, and we have kind of not really been looking at our YouTube responses, our YouTube comments, the Instagram comments, and the other platform. So tonight we're going to try as much as we can to see if we can respond to everybody, not just to our viewers on Facebook. So I really want to welcome all of the eyes I am seeing here tonight. I am glad that the numbers are growing, because the more people we have, the more wider of a perspective we have about this thing called love. This thing called love. So, Vilna, share again with our audience what our topic is and how we're going to get them to share with us about this loving thing.
Okay, our topic for tonight is loving without losing yourself, relationships, and healing. Tonight, we're going to talk about learning to say no, learning to put yourself first, learning to embrace yourself even while being part of a relationship, not giving up so much of yourself when that relationship is already broken. It doesn't necessarily have to be a man, woman, spouse. It can be just a bestie, your son or daughter. Some of us hold on so hard trying to make everything right, trying to please everybody, that we lose ourselves. We completely lose ourselves in the process. And
So
what it do to us in the end?
I kind of want to jump in here, because one of the first questions you asked was, can you love and still stay whole? Something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we love while remaining whole? I think that is impossible. Because I think loving in itself means giving yourself generously to somebody else. Again, regardless of what the relationship is. If you're in a relationship with somebody where you love yourself, you're always going to give part of yourself. So I think the initial part of loving, you're going to be giving, as you're giving yourself, you're giving pieces. So you're not left 100% whole. Although I think if we love in the right way, we're kind of like adding something to ourselves. We're going to gain something to the relationship. Because there are some relationships, the love is so potent, it's so precious, that instead of feeling like you're losing part of yourself or giving away part of yourself to somebody, you feel like you're actually gaining something. So I think it's kind of like whatever love you're experiencing, how it nurtures you or how it treats you, then you can determine whether or not you're losing parts of yourself or you're actually gaining something.
Yes, I totally agree, because it's just like, okay, when you get married, your family doesn't lose you. They gain another brother, they gain a sister. And some parents look at it that way. You get married and they're like I've lost my daughter. No, you need to look at it the way I'm gaining a son. And yes, when we love, we give a part of ourselves, but we're supposed to be receiving. So it's almost like whatever you're giving, you're supposed to receive. So you still remain whole. You still, like, it's not all of you, but you don't give so much of yourself that when you look yourself in the mirror, you have to do a double take, because you don't even see yourself anymore. You don't even see that person that you you grew to love that strong, vibrant self. Because we give so much sometimes that we completely forget who we are. We forget our values, we forget our strengths. We just shrink to fit in that space that other person has created for us.
Now I'm
But
going to
then
be devil's advocate. You know I'm going to be devil's
I
advocate.
was just about to be devil's
Always
advocate.
the devil's
But go ahead. You be first devil. I'll be second devil.
So, we tend to think of these relationships as in husband and wife, etc. But just let's look at a mother, being a mother, for example. I mean, being a mother, honestly, you lose yourself. You really not whole. It takes a lot because you pour so much into your child, and you do look in the mirror at some point and like, I don't know who I've become. You lose yourself. You sacrifice everything, your time, your energy, everything is surrounded by, especially when they're at a younger age. It takes time when they're a bit more independent, when you can say, okay, I'm getting my groove back. I can go back to the gym. I can start eating healthy. I can start taking a trip and taking care of yourself. But in the initial stages, being a parent, a lot of women, they're lost. They're no longer that person. I mean, they're loving, they're receiving the love from a child. It's a good thing. It's nice to be a mother, but then you're not totally, you've lost yourself. I don't know if it's me. It was that for me. I'm speaking from experience. I don't know did you have that feeling, Yolanda?
Oh, losing myself? I don't know. I have been a
Well, we know you. I mean,
hey. Can I answer my question? Because you asked it to me and I have to answer
sister never lose herself, right?
Let me
Okay.
answer the question. Because I think it will actually help to with tonight's topic. I have been accused of being very selfish. And I just want to say tonight for the whole tour that I am so glad that I am very selfish. I think we put definition to words, kind of like force people to become who we want them to be. And then we, in our infinite, ways to please people, we quickly, embrace those definitions or those titles, and we're afraid that people might see us in a certain way. Unfortunately, I was not born with that fear. I think being selfish is a good thing. I think you don't have to be selfish in a way to take away from people, but being selfish for yourself, loving yourself in a way that says, I am not making any, and I'm sure anybody who knows me can fill in the blank, apologies. So because of who I am, and I am always going after what I want, I know what makes me happy. I know what doesn't make me happy. I know if I'm in a relationship, and I'm not just talking about romantic relationship, I'm relationship with a man, or with my friend, or with a family member, my children, and something happens that I don't like, I will speak up. I'm going to say, listen, I don't like that. That didn't feel good. So because of the way I am, I'm always eager to express how I'm feeling. I cannot don't feel those things. I'm not saying they don't come, but when they come, I'm able to recognize it and say, no. Something needs to change because Yolanda is not living like this. So I think it's about recognizing what doesn't work for you in a relationship, regardless of the nature of the relationship, and saying, this is something I cannot accept. And then, of course, not just saying I cannot accept it, but when you've sat and you've reflected on it, you want to say, well, I prefer this instead. And then you move forward to figure out what can you do in that relationship that's going to help grow or nurture the kind of environment you want to feed your relationship. And I think that's very important. A lot of people don't do that, and that's how we get stuck in those relationships that take more from us than they actually give to us.
But what if, for example, we're speaking about a child? Because your situation, your examples works well if you have two adults but what if you have a child or a sick mother or something where you have that relationship?
It works for a child. It works for a child.
You don't have a choice. You have a baby.
No, you have to make that choice.
Hold on. When I had my children small, I was parenting. One day, I think I said something to Doobie. He was maybe like about 7 years old. And he says, Mommy, I hate you. I said, that's okay, because sometimes I don't like you either. And he was like, what? You're my mother. You're supposed to like me. I said, it didn't feel good when I told you I don't like you, right? So if it didn't feel good to hear that I don't like you, then you shouldn't tell me you don't like me or you hate me, because then that's exactly how I feel. So they have time to kind of approach a certain situation. Even if I'm the parent, our kids go out and they do a lot of things to us that we don't like. And if I come and I tell you, at that moment, I was not very proud to call myself your mother, because what you did, not you, but your actions hurt me or affected me in a certain way. You need to understand that. And you're not too young to know that what you do can affect people. And if we teach our children from early that the actions have consequences or it can cause emotional harm to people, then they learn to know, hey, I need to be aware of what I'm doing because I can hurt somebody, which is a topic for another time. We shelter them too much sometimes and they think like everything they do is okay. So it applies for any relationship. You have to let people know how you feel and how the actions affect you so that they can do better moving forward, and then you can nurture better relationships.
Yeah, but sometimes you find that everybody does not have that self confidence and that strength that you have. And that is the other thing. A lot of us are afraid to say, like, we want to be that child's friend. So, another parent, instead of telling the child what you said, they would, if they feel, if they tell the child that they don't like them, they're hurting their child. And like you said, it was okay for him to hurt you. So now you're not deliberately trying to hurt him. You're just trying to make him understand what it feels like. So now he can choose his words better the next time. But what I have noticed is a lot of us, we're too weak. We're not strong enough to say these things. We still, what if I say this and then he doesn't like me? What if I do this and the person doesn't like me? What if I stand up for what I believe in and they think I'm a snob? And that is where I think a lot of the times we lose ourselves, because we do not have the confidence in ourselves. We do not have the willpower to stand up for ourselves. And that is when we begin to shrink.
Okay, I just want to kind of like, before we go any further, I know we have not really acknowledged the people in our audience who may be putting, comments on what, loving and losing themselves may feel like. So I kind of want to take a minute to go to the audience and just welcome, people who we have here. I see Cherry, welcome in the house. Viana, welcome. Adela, wonderful Wednesday to you. Samantha, good evening to you. Good evening, Selena. Joelle is here. Joelle wants to know the topic. Can somebody tell me about the topic for tonight? Joelle.
Joella, the topic for tonight is self-love. It's learning to love yourself it's loving without losing yourself. Relationships and healing.
Yeah. So you can love somebody regardless of what capacity the person is in your life, but how do you love somebody without giving so much of yourself that when you look back, you can recognize who you are in the mirror? So what do you guys think, audience? What have you ever been in a relationship where you extend so much of yourself, you give so much of yourself that after a while you step back and you look and you're like, who is this person? Who am I? I don't recognize myself. Like I am a shell of myself. And I think the people who are most guilty of that are parents. Sometimes we give everything we have to our children. And when we look back, we don't have a life. And our children grow up, and then after they grow up, we don't know what to do with ourselves. The second most common time I see that is in relationships, especially in marriages. We give so much of ourselves, and then we look and we're like, wait, this marriage is not loving me back. And then I also see it again in sisterly relationships, where you have one sister trying really, really hard, and the other one is just using to the point where the sister feels like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And we see a lot of relationships that are just broken. So audience, tell us tonight, what are your experiences with relationships where you feel that you're looking out for people, you're giving, you're nurturing, you're helping that relationship, and the other person just seems to be taking and giving nothing in return? We really want to hear your thoughts. Our audience is very quiet tonight.
Very.
Our audience is very quiet tonight.
I guess everybody in our audience knows how to love and not lose themselves. They know how to set boundaries, and they know how to confidently stand up for what they believe in.
Well, then let me give them a task, because we're about to go to our.
Somebody did comment.
Whoever said something. I've become selfish lately. There are too many ungrateful people when it comes to relationships. I don't have time. Those men lie too much.
Good. So we are going to start with Joella's comment when we come back. But audience, what I want you guys to do, I want you to think about those situations where you have felt like your love went about unnoticed, or it actually took away from you. It didn't add to you. Tell us what that feels like, and think about what you might need from our conversations tonight, because we will tell you, you give too much, don't do this, don't do that, or you need to do this. But sometimes we don't tell you how to do these things. So as we take our first commercial break, I want you to think about those things, and we will be right back with how we can make sure that we love ourselves without losing ourselves. We'll be right back.
Let the rhythm inspire you at the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. Pure Jazz. Tuesday, May 5th, Grammy-winning Esperanza Spalding. Then on Thursday, May 7th, Branford Marcellus Quartet. May 6th, Kingdom Night. Gospel Powerhouse Ty Trebet. Ada AE. Then feel the rhythm at Caribbean Fusion. Friday, May 8th, featuring the original Wailers with Al Anderson. Skip Marley, Cast the Band. Imran Nerdy, Dexter Daps. World Beats. Saturday, May 9th, Afrobeat sensation Thames. Princess Lover, X-Man, Lou City, October 4, and Ella May. The Ultimate Celebration, Sunday, May 10th, featuring the legendary Billy Ocean. Beverly Knight, Mervyn Wilkinson, R&B icons Brandy and Monica. Online tickets available at stluciajazzandartsfestival.com. The St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. Feel the rhythm at Caribbean Fusion. Friday, May 8th at Pigeon Island. Featuring the original Wailers with Al Anderson. The original Wailers. Skip Marley. Cast the Band. Imran Nerdy. And Dexter Daps.
All night speaking on the phone. Look like you need a new replacement.
Online tickets available at stluciajazzandartsfestival.com. The St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. Feel the rhythm at World Beats. Saturday, May 9th, Pigeon Island. Global Afrobeat sensation, Thames.
This is the peace that you cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot
Thames.
I need you in the morning, but I need you.
Princess Lover, X-Man, Lou City, October 4, and Ella May.
Feelings so deep.
Ella May.
You know that bartender, I pour a drink, a movie on it, entertain. I'm down to do the little things.
Online tickets available at stluciajazzandartsfestival.com.
Get pain relief fast with Frances Rub.
When the days get tough, rub it. Having back pains, rub it. The dog not well, rub it. COVID on you, rub it. If you have 4AD, rub it. For proper circulation, rub it. Stroke have you on a side, rub it. For all problems in life, rub it with Frances Rub. Or call 713-4162 or 489-3421. Nothing beats a good old Frances Rub. Located in the Vendors Arcade, booth 27B.
And now in VA4 on Girodi Street next to the post office.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's see what our viewers have to say. Adela says, loving may show up differently for different people or relationships. Joella said, these men are involved with different women. They come to you with water in their eyes. Only fools listen to them because I personally work with the FBI. I am doing me and I couldn't be bothered. No one will take my happiness. Vienna says, the thing is, I have always been practicing self awareness. I will be giving all of me to you when not initializing what you share because always looking at it from a neutral perspective. I never compromise my being to satisfy someone else, but I'm always willing to work on my behavior. Look at something from a different perspective or my approach, just not who I am as a person or as a woman. Adela says you have to learn people's loving language and show them love. That way, most of us never heard I love you from our parents, but we knew that we were loved by some of the small gestures that they did.
And then Joella said, I've devoted all of my time to my teenage daughter. So
Yeah.
I don't know which one we're going to take first. I'm going to start with the last one. Just because it really kind of like gives me a platform to talk about the next questions. Because one of the things on our outline we wanted to talk about was, well, how can you recognize when a situation is not loving? Or in other words, what is love? What behaviors that would people, demonstrate that would they say, oh, I love you? And what behaviors would they exhibit that would show us, oh, there's no love there? And what Joella said, she said, I devoted all my time to a teenage daughter. At the risk of sounding prescriptive, I'm wondering, Joella, if that is not like a defense mechanism. And I don't think it's like a great way for us to resolve the issue. So, for example, we're in a relationship and this relationship just isn't working. And because we cannot find a solution, we'll say, you know what? Well, I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm just going to focus my attention here. The question for me is that healthy? Sometimes some of our relationships are not yielding enough. So we look for an outlet somewhere else and we put all of our energies there. So whereas you might be developing a perfect relationship with your children or your teenage daughter, you may be neglecting a biological need for you to feel love, to be in a romantic relationship or to be in a relationship in a healthy pair relationship with your friends. So we kind of have to have like a healthy balance. We need the parent-child relationship. We need the romantic relationships. We need the social friendships. We need the healthy work relationships. It's like we're just multifaceted people and we have multifaceted relationships.
Yeah, well, I guess it could be.
Joella has made up her mind.
Yes, but it could also be, I mean, there are circumstances. So you have some parents that are really, some mothers, for example, that are single mothers. Some who are coming from broken marriages and relationships, and then they put their energy. Some have some troubled kids, or some kids who have some biological need or some illness. And as a mother, sometimes you're working. For example, with me, I was married very young. By 21, I was married. I was studying at university and I had kids all at 21. And so the time, I remember a lot of my friends would say, Tam, let's go to the club or let's go to the pub. And I'd be like, I can't because I have to work. I have to do overtime. I have to do my assignments and I have my kids and I had a baby. And so I lost friends along the way because they're like, you committing social suicide. Like you need to find time. For me, you need to find time to go to the club. You need to find time to bond with me. And I'm like, I really don't have the time. At this time, I can't. And so I lost friends in the process because at that time I devoted all my time to my family and to my studies. I could not be the balanced individual they wanted me to be. So it took years, and when the circumstances and the situation changed, as I said earlier, when my kids became more independent, maybe when I finished my master's at that time, I had more time. So it depends on where Joella, depends on where she's at the time. But I can understand for a lot of women that they devote a lot of the time, as we've said, to their kids. Not that they do not want to have a balanced life or to have other relationships, but just because of the circumstances at the time, they get caught up in doing that. And again, as you said, recognizing it and then trying to change it is important. But We don't judge you, Joella. We do understand. It happens to a lot of us as women. Yeah, it can happen.
Yes, it does.
So another thing too is that sometimes you have to remove yourself from a certain scene. So like if you realize something is not working out, it is totally okay to say, you know what, I'm gonna take a break from this. So I had this relationship with a girl and it was drama, and I move on to this other group and it was another set of drama. You know what? I'm gonna take myself off the social scene for a while. So that's absolutely perfect. My concern is that we just don't take ourselves out of it completely for fear of not being able to handle those negative things that happen in relationship. So we need to figure out, let's start talking about what are some of the things that people do that let us know that this is not love. This is not love. What are some of the things that people do to us where the whole world can blatantly see what are you doing being in that relationship because it's not working for you, but we ourselves cannot see because we're right in the middle of it. What are some of those things? Because they're like red flags. What are some of those red flags you want to give our audience out? They say, you know, wait, if you're in a relationship and X, Y, Z is happening, you need to start thinking of an exit strategy.
A lot of the times when we're in relationships, like you said, we don't see the red flags. And it's so easy sometimes when what you think is that you love that person so much. And sometimes we say, you know, we're giving our all to make it work. We miss out on the manipulation in the relationship. And that's one of the things that happens a lot. People manipulate us in such subtle ways. They throw the little things they know that would hurt us back at us. It's like, for example, you're a wife and you are the one who you have to cook, you have to wash, you have to do everything and then tend to the children. And then when the nighttime comes and you said you're tired, your husband throws it back in your face. Oh, if you're so tired, then I'll go somewhere else. But a lot of us are not strong enough to say, I'm tired because you're not helping me. Or call on the husband. Some of us are of the notion that it is our responsibility as a wife or as a mother to wash, to iron, to take care of everybody's needs, to be the nurse, to be the doctor. So we need to realize when we're giving more than what we're receiving, and that can be a red flag. I'm the only one doing, I'm not getting anything, I'm not feeling loved. So you need to start realizing when you're not feeling.
Um, I know I like to talk, but Vince, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I think I've grown a lot in the past few years. I want to attribute that to, you know, just I don't know. I discovered a new love. You guys know already. I discovered. Sarah, please don't roll your eyes. I discovered a new love, and to be honest with you, I wish I could share my love with everybody in the world because I don't know what I did to become so lucky. And I'm not just talking about romantic love. That new love I discovered was romantic love with my husband, but we're not just husband and wife. We're friends. We're hang out buddies, and I have discovered that. And something I would have never done in the past is to say, I'll just get mad because I'm like, I'm doing everything. Why are you not helping me? Da, 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 da. But lately, I have really learned better ways to communicate. And I think communication is just the key. And a lot of times I'm thinking about what you were saying about, okay, we were saying, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, and at night you don't understand. I have learned now the solution is not saying, not exposing what the situation is. Okay, I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm tired now, so now you understand. The solution might be communication and not just telling the person how you feel, because sometimes you can talk till doomsday and the person not picking up the hints. So now you don't talk, you suggest. So if you're in a relationship, say if you're married and you feel like you're taking on the responsibility of the house, you're coming from work, you know you're gonna come home and cook, your husband will not help. You call, hey hon, can you just put out some meat for me in the sink so that it could defrost, so when I come, if you have some time, you can even season it for me. I would love that. Now maybe you can go a bit further. Babe, you know, if I finish cook early, I'm gonna make some really sweet love to my husband tonight. That alone will make them think, let me have you cook quickly so when you come, we can do this. So you understand what I'm saying? So you kind of like, if your person in your life is not picking up the slack, what can you do? Like asking, say, do this. Say, you know what, babe? Say your husband touching the night and you did about 6 things and you're tired. we start touching you. So instead of saying, whoa, whoa, move, I'm tired. Say, babe, you know what would really turn me on right now? Would you rub my feet hurts so bad. Babe, know he wants something. Trust me, your feet is getting rubbed. So we cannot, if we change our approach, and I know some people are so set in their ways, no nice approach will help. But I think there are still that we can do in most situations where if we change our approach, if we show somebody that they need it, people love to be needed. If we show somebody that we needed, maybe it can actually help to change the course a little bit. I don't know, just my 2 cents. What do you think?
Well, for me, what I've found lately, what I hear a lot of people speak about, the red flags they speak about is you being the one who's consistent. You're always the one making the effort. Like relationship must be a two-way street. So, for example, if we are friends, Yolanda, and you always the one, why are you always calling me? Why am I never calling you? Why am I always putting in the effort? Why am I the one giving? Why am I the one? Why is it always from me? So for me, I feel it must be a two-way street, and communication, as you said, is a big thing. Again, people have different ways of communication and different love languages. So I may be a friend who would want gifts, and it's my birthday, etc., and then I give gifts, but it's not your love language, and gifts you don't appreciate, doesn't work for you. So there's that breakdown in how we show love. So basically, what you're saying is so true. Communication is a big thing. Understanding your partner or the relationship, their love language, and just making it a two-way street. It really drains me when I have to be the one doing everything. You want to feel the same way too. You want to feel loved. You want to feel appreciated. So for me, that's a deal breaker.
And all of that is true. And I'm going to play devil's advocate tonight. And sometimes you do all of that and it still does not work. Because I have heard people say, I've tried. I've put in the work. I have changed my approach. I have done everything. And it still does not work. And sometimes, and like you said, these are some of the red flags we need to start looking for. Yes. When you have done everything and you're saying, okay, I have tried. So you know what? It's time for me to there's nothing left to do. And that is something that I find a lot of the times we don't do, because comfort is what cripples us. We're so comfortable. If I leave, then I have to start over, then I have to look for, I couldn't. So they stay there and they take the friend, using them, like Tamara said. She's always calling you, and when she calls, yes, you'll talk and you'll laugh. If Tamara does not call you, you never call her. And instead of, standing up and saying, Yolanda, sometimes you can call me, because me, if I tell Yolanda that, she'll get vexed. I like Yolanda. Every time Yolanda comes to St. Lucia, she bring in my little Calvin Klein for me. I will call her every time. We settle. We see the red flags, but we settle. And these are the things sometimes I think that really, really breaks us. But what we need to do is to ask ourselves, how do we get out of this situation? What can I do now to see the red flags and be strong enough to say enough is enough and I need to get out? But then again, if it works for you, we're not judging. If that's what works for you, then stay in it. But then, are you really and truly happy? Because she might be, yes, looking forward to getting her gifts from you. But when she's talking to her other friends, me, if I don't call Yolanda, she's not calling me. So that means it bothers her. And that is the thing, facing it head on, dealing with it, and getting the best solution for it.
I'm looking at the comments, ladies.
I was laughing.
Well, Viana gives, giving Yolanda, she says, are you the relationship guru now? Viana knew, there's a song, I remember this reggae song, it goes, you found love is like a brand new toy. Woo! My goodness. But Joella said, my advice is women need to stay by themselves. Joella.
I think Joella wants us to really talk about, give a little piece about relationships between man and woman, because obviously, but let me just respond to that relationship guru thing. I think all of us are relationship guru. I think our experiences in relationship informs us about relationships. So it may not be about, hey, I am an expert about how to stay in love. I'm expert about how to spice up my relationship. But there are a lot of us who have experienced such things in relationship that we can speak on it because of our experiences. So so we all are experienced. If I say that I've had some really bad relationships, God will punish me. I cannot say that. I have not been unfortunate. I'm not saying I've not had anything bad happen to my life, but I can't really talk to that. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so let's talk to Joella. Let's talk to Joella. Joella is very passionate about that relationship.
I think we need to bring Joella on the show. All right. As a guest, should be the perfect devil's advocate because Joella has listen, her advice, all women should just stay by themselves. Joella,
and Joella is not changing. That's just so you know that means there's a reason why Joella is so stuck in her ways. That means Joella got the red flag, she dealt with the red flag, she burned them, and Joella maybe even buried the ashes when she was
and she's laughing. But there's something I want to ask her. There's something I want to ask her. That just suggests that men are the issue here. And I know they have woman-woman relationships, both platonic and romantic. And I've kind of heard that some of those women-women relationships are even more one-sided than the man-woman relationship. So kind of like, do we think like it's like a man problem? Is it a woman problem? Or it's a circumstance or situational problem?
No, but I do think some women, I mean, you have different relationships. And trust me, we can be our own worst enemies. You have some women relationships, some females who have some beautiful relationships, and some are just really toxic. And you have this friend who you think is a friend, and you really don't see the red flags until it's too late. You know, you have a friend who is envious, who's jealous, who is, you know, they bring you down in subtle ways that you may never, you know, initially see. So I don't think it's just men. Okay, well, Joella said it's a man problem. At this point, I have nothing to say to Joella. At this point, I have nothing to say to Joella.
Well, you know what? At this point, I think we should all let it season. And again, let us hear some more words from our sponsors. Joella, I hope you take that, you go relieve yourself.
She needs to come to jazz.
Enjoying jazz, okay?
She needs to come to St. Lucia Jazz.
And we'll come back and we'll talk some more about what this is all about, okay?
Let the rhythm inspire you at the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. Pure Jazz. Tuesday, May 5th, Grammy-winning Esperanza Spalding. Then on Thursday, May 7th, Branford Marcellus Quartet. May 6th, Kingdom Night. Gospel powerhouse Ty Tribbett. Ada AE. Then feel the rhythm at Caribbean Fusion. Friday, May 8th, featuring the original Wailers with Al Anderson. Skip Marley has the band. Imran Nerdy, Dexter Daps. World Beats. Saturday, May 9th, Afrobeat sensation Thames. Princess Lover, X-Man, Lou City, October 4, and Ella May. The Ultimate Celebration, Sunday, May 10th, featuring the legendary Billy Ocean. Beverly Knight, Mervyn Wilkinson, R&B icons Brandy and Monica. Online tickets available at stluciajazzandartsfestival.com.
Join Watch Radio NY.
Get pain relief fast with Frances Rub.
When the days get tough, rub it. Having back pains, rub it. The dog not well, rub it. COVID on you, rub it. If you have 4AD, rub it. For proper circulation, rub it. Stroke have you on a side, rub it. For all problems in life, rub it with Frances Rub. Or call 713-4162 or 489-3421. Nothing beats a good old Frances Rub. Located in the Vendors Arcade, booth 27B.
And now in VA4 on Girodi Street next to the post office.
Welcome back. Welcome back. And let me just say that at this time, we'd like to thank the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. This segment this evening is sponsored by the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, and we are advertising for St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. It's going to be fantastic, and this runs from April 30th, 2026 until May 10th, 2026. So those of you in the diaspora, it's not too late. Book a ticket, come down. And those of you in St. Lucia, go out, purchase your tickets from Four Circles and all the other outlets, and let's celebrate St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. So, Yolanda, we have a lot of comments here. We have some comments here. We have someone by the name of Jenna who says we should just treat people the way we would like to be treated. Joella again says, I saw my red flag from early. And we spoke about jazz, and she said, my darling, I was one of the first women in jazz because Labrie Hospital jazz, not all small holes have jazz with all the Johnny come lately. So, well, you need to come on the show. You just need a show. Cheryl Bryce says, I'm learning, never too old to learn. Thank you, Sister Yolanda, adopted Sister Mara, and Vilna. And every time I speak to Cheryl Bryce, I remember her sharing some experiences with some female, some relationships that she had. And how she always got the short end of the stick, for example, being so kind to people and opening her homes to people. And, she always got the short end of the stick. So I'm happy that she's learning to choose your circle wisely, look out for the red flags, and love, but guard your heart. And Joella again says, my darling, I am from Labrie, so we are the products of jazz. I live in Texas, so it's not always convenient for me to attend because of my job. Joella, I'm not sure if you can do it virtual, but if you can and you can pay for the virtual shows, go ahead and do that. And Rhonda Spencer says, good night, everyone.
Good night, Rhonda. Good night.
And while we're talking about jazz, let's not forget Jazz and Viege. Miku Jazz is the only jazz, is the place you have to be. Sorry.
The only jazz. Look at you.
Maybe not the only jazz.
If you don't, if you're not at Jazz and Viege on Sunday, then you have not experienced jazz.
Yeah, well, Jazz and Viege, last year, I think, was it the first year last year? It was fantastic. The venue was amazing. It's an all-white event.
It's all white again.
Amazing. It was a really good vibe. I went in white. I came out brown, but so I know I have my white outfit. So yeah, do support Miku Jazz. There's also Soufre Jazz. Shows that has
Joella said Labrie has jazz too, so you can go to Labrie Jazz.
So it's all gonna start. So let's have fun. All right, ladies.
Okay.
So just because our time is coming short, and I really want us to kind of like give at least one or two strategies to our viewers about how we can handle, dealing with those relationships that don't seem to be reciprocal. I'm always sure reciprocal. I want us to kind of like think about what advice we have for our audience out there in terms of recognizing and dealing with those situations. I think I want to start with one of the things I have learned in all of the relationships I've had in all capacity of relationship is that we have to learn people. If we learn that in our lives, we are better able to deal with them, whether they're friends, whether they're romantic prospects, whether they're children, whether they're sisters. So, for example, the way I will deal with my sister Leona, I will deal differently with Shanna. Leona is the kind of person, she's sensitive. She always says about you to call her, oh, me, this one don't call me. Huh? She always has to be on the phone. So I'm going to call Leona more often than I'm going to call Shanna because I know Shanna is like, I don't really care about the phone. Some people have different things they want. I have 2 children, 2 boys. And whereas the one boy always wants to throw a pillow at me and say, man, you don't see me there? You check me? You check me? The other one will probably be like, he just wants to hide in his room and then just leave him alone and let him, so people have different personalities. And when we understand that, some people are phone people, but some people express with their heart and some people express with, while they're in person. Some people are not. Some people will probably want to write poems. Some people, everybody have different ways of expressing. So when we understand that, then we know whether or not we're being given the kind of attention we want, or we just person not putting into the relationship as much as everything else. So my single advice would be, whatever relationships we develop, make sure we understand the people who are in relationship with us, and as Tamara said earlier, what their love language is, so we don't misinterpret or read more into it than what's not there. That's my advice.
Yeah, expectations are important. Sometimes we expect so much from persons because growing up, I always heard I had this thing called only child syndrome. I don't know if it's a real thing.
Right? You just have FOMO.
No, I have only child syndrome. Okay, I have no siblings. I'm an only child, and that's what I know. And it was always about Tamara, right? And so whenever I had a friend, it had to always be about Tamara. I can't deal. I can't deal with it. Sharing my friend. It's me and you. Like, there's no sharing. As I grew older, I had to understand, hey, it's okay that my friend can have another friend. But at school, I was like very defensive. You are my friend. You're not going to say that. I mean, I'm still like that a little. The expectation. And so sometimes I expect what I do for people, I expect them to do for me. And that should not always be. So I'm someone, if you call and I see a missed call, I will call one time. I'm always ready. I'm ready to react. I'm ready to do. Yolanda says she needs, I'm there. Go do this, I am there. This is me. But I cannot expect everybody to be like that. Everybody's is not like me. So the expectation, as you say, know who the person is. Some people cannot deal with stress. I can probably deal with stress. So Yolanda may say, "Oh, we're planning this party," and everybody, and then somebody say, "I cannot Yolanda today. I just cannot Yolanda today." And it's not that she's not a good friend, but she doesn't have the mental capacity to be with Yolanda all the time. Like
What is your examples, please?
So again, expectations, knowing the person and expectations cannot always, they're not you, so they cannot always deliver. So don't have that expectation. I mean, as much as you want the two-way, but you have to know who you're dealing with and that understand they're individual, they're not you. So they may not always, behave like you.
Okay, so like Tamara said, like you're saying, don't expect you from other people. Yes. And I say that to people every time. For me, it's setting boundaries and keeping them. And it's learning to meet people at their level. Again, it's not because you're scared. It's not because you're not confident in your own self. But if you realize somebody's at that level, what I found myself doing a lot, I always try to elevate people. And some people do not want to be elevated. And I'm learning now to meet people at their level. Everybody does not want to be or does not understand the level that I'm at. So I need to respect that, meet them at their level, and work with them at their level. And that I find for me has made a lot of a difference because I have a big heart and I'm a very generous person. And because of that, it's almost like sometimes I felt like people took advantage of me, and I had to take a step back and realize letting people walk over you and giving does not mean love. You need to set boundaries. You need to be selfish. You need to put yourself first sometimes and not feel embarrassed or not be afraid to put yourself first. And you need to ask for what you want. But you also need to be willing to understand what somebody else wants. And if you cannot give what they want, be willing to say, I cannot give you ABC, but I can give you EFG. So does that work? And if it does not work, it's okay to say, then fine, I'm going to walk away. Yes, I don't have that much to give. This is what I have to give. Set your boundaries, keep your boundaries. And let's treat people with respect and do unto others as would like others to do to us. And I think we go very far.
That reflects something Joella said. Or was it Joella who ever said treat people the way you want to be treated?
No, I think that was
Jenna. Somebody had said that earlier. And then that is so important. A lot of us, we don't treat people a certain way, but we expect certain treatment in return. I think this conversation has given our audience quite a bit to reflect on. We showed them some red flags they could look for. We gave them some advice on how to deal with unfulfilling relationships, and we even showed them into perspectives into whatever you think is may not be. Things are not always as they seem. I think I just want to give them a little insight into what we're going to talk about next week. One of the things that was very devastating for me last week was hearing about, you know, those children who died. And I know a lot of stories are surfacing out there on it was domestic violence, it was mental health issues. It just tells us there are so many other topics that need to be spoken on, and we don't get the chance, the platform, or the opportunity to do that. So with Watch Radio giving us that platform, we're really going to talk about topics that matter to you. So when we come back next week, we will talk about domestic violence. We will talk about mental health, maybe not in the same issue, but definitely maybe domestic violence first and then mental health issue after. So one of the things I want to appeal out there is if you have anybody in our audience who might be willing to come on as a guest, you can definitely reach out to us in the HushTalk channel, or you can put a comment under the show, and we'll definitely reach out to you and see how we can talk to you or get you to talk with us on our show next week when we talk about domestic violence. But as always, we are so appreciative of you listening, of you sharing, of you giving us, just fueling our conversations, because this platform is really one where we can really puff out the things that really matter to us.
Yeah, we have some comments. Jenna also says, Joella says, just move on and be you. That's how you leave. Jenna Charles did say, really good advice, ladies. Emma, well said, Miss Joseph. Electra is on and she said, self-love, best love. I mean, you have to love yourself before you love other persons. That's the only way. Selena says, good advice, ladies. Natalia, good evening. Like that. Treat others. She likes that. Treat others the way you want to be treated. So I guess most persons are agreeing with the advice that you need to treat others the way you want to be treated. And I feel like that's a lot. I'm never really angry. I don't carry my emotion that way. What I hate and what I don't like is I walk into a room or I meet someone, I greet and I say, hi, good afternoon. And, women are just not in our mood today. And we're like, and then tomorrow we in the mood. So because I don't like it, I try as much as possible to control that in my moods, or I'm not in my mood, not today, that kind of thing. So I treat people how I want to be treated. So most women are agreeing with this on the platform.
Okay, beautiful. So with that said, I want to know if any of my hosts have just a final word. Not more than 20 seconds. I'm looking at our clock here. Is there just one final word you just have to say to the audience before we thank them and move on from tonight's talk?
All I'd like to say is people just remember you are not too much, you are not too broken, you are not too late. The love you're looking for is not found in losing yourself. It's found the moment you finally choose yourself. And tonight, if all you do is take one step back into your power, then this conversation was not in vain.
Okay, great. For me, as you said, self-love is important, and loving other persons, whatever that love is, learning them, understanding them, knowing how to love them without giving too much, and not expecting too much, but loving yourself. And as everybody said, treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah. And I'm going to echo that. I'm going to say, don't let anybody tell you you're worth less than you think you're worth. Don't let anybody compromise your standards. When people start seeing how you treat yourself, they know you're not going to stand for anything less. You set the standard and do not compromise it for any reason. Once you show that you have that capacity to be loved the way you want to be loved, everything else will fall in place. So as we end tonight's show, we want you to remember that this is HushTalk, where we feel, One of my co-hosts finished for me. This is HushTalk.
This is HushTalk, where we don't just speak, where we feel, we heal, and we rise together.
What was this? A new theme? I have to learn it for next year. Don't worry.
Okay. So let's say it again. I would love for HushTalkers to write it in the comments. This is HushTalk.
Where we don't just speak.
When we don't just speak, we feel,
we heal, and we rise together.
All right, then. Thank you, ladies.
Good night, everybody.
And thank you for listening to.
See you guys next week. All right.
Have a good night.
All right.
Let the rhythm inspire you at the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. Pure Jazz. Tuesday, May 5th, Grammy-winning Esperanza Spalding. Then on Thursday, May 7th, Branford Marcellus Quartet. May 6th, Kingdom Night, Gospel Powerhouse Ty Tribbett. Ada AE. Then feel the rhythm at Caribbean Fusion. Friday, May 8th, featuring the original Wailers with Al Anderson. Skip Marley, Cass the Band. Imran Nerdy, Dexter Daps. World Beats. Saturday, May 9th, Afrobeat sensation Thames. Princess Lover, X-Man, Lou City, October 4, and Ella May. The ultimate celebration, Sunday, May 10th, featuring the legendary Billy Ocean. Beverly Knight, Mervyn Wilkinson, R&B icons Brandy and Monica. Online tickets available at stluciajazzandartsfestival.com.